What's going on, everybody? It's another edition of the NRW Checkpoint with the greatest gaming host in the land. Myself, WebsterStyle, the man, the voice of fragrance, and of course, Brian Sapph. Brian, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing all right.
All
You
right,
doing
doing all
okay?
right. All right. Let's get into some gaming. It's an interesting week in gaming. We haven't hit that uh, big crescendo for January yet. I think with some of the releases coming next week, we'll probably hit that. But this week, we're starting off with Gigantosaurus Dino Kart, another kart racing game. This is a racer from developer 3D Clouds and publisher Outright Games. Uh, if you have little ones, you may be familiar with Gigantosaurus. I believe it's on Disney Junior, if I
Mm-hmm.
remember that correctly. So that's where you know it from. So in this, it's a kart racer. You kart race around Cretaceous in a prehistoric kart championship for up to 4 players of all ages, where you can play as your favorite dino friend and even bump into the mysterious Gigantosaurus himself. The racing adventure is full of awesome obstacles, power-ups found only in the world of dinosaurs. So it's
Interesting.
another licensed kart racer. Okay,
Yeah, pretty much.
great.
They figured out a way to get the tykes on board.
You know, that is the easiest way to milk a kid's license, is really just to put those characters into a kart racer.
Yeah. Yep.
I blame
Kart
Mario Kart.
Racer, Fortnite, what's the other one? Minecraft.
I,
Any
I
one of
wouldn't even,
those?
I wouldn't even say those, because Fortnite and Minecraft are owned by, their respective companies,
Mm,
Microsoft and Epic, or Epic and Microsoft in that order. But Mario Kart has perfected the kart racer.
like to a T.
Right. So you can just, hey, we can just copy Mario Kart, put
Mm-hmm.
these characters in there. And then since everybody's familiar with it, it is easy for anybody to get in, especially for younger players. Because what even the kid Ryan
Mm,
got his own kart racing game.
I didn't know
So
that.
yeah. Oh, that kid's like an empire. And the craziest thing is, we saw him like when he just started on YouTube
That's
many
crazy.
years ago.
Right.
And the fact like he's this humongous licensing property, like it's amazing. But I
It is.
digress. But that seems like the easiest thing to do with a kid's property, is just simply to turn into a kart racer and put out. Seems like minimum investment.
Hmm.
Really, you're paying probably mostly for the license, and not to besmirch the game developers, because coding is coding, regardless of how simplistic the game is. It's still coding.
Right.
It's still hard work.
Right.
But in the context of being able to get something out in a timely, or at least a quick fashion, and capitalize on a property that very
Mm,
much like something like this, very few people have heard of. This is not a game that's been in development for 3-4 years.
right.
This is a game that's probably been in development for at most two,
Hmm.
if
I
that.
can see that.
Because this series, I think, has only been out for about 2 or 3 years at the most. So it's a fairly recent series, if I remember correctly.
Well, hopefully the kids enjoy it.
Right,
It's geared straight to them, and
right.
it'll be a great introduction into kart racing.
Yes, it will. Next up, we have a space for the Unbound. Oh, I'm sorry. And I totally forgot to say that Gigantosaurus, Dino Kart, you can remember, is on every damn thing. PS4, 5,
As it
Xbox
should be.
One, SX, Switch, and PC. There's no console exclusivity with this sort of game.
Yeah.
They're trying to make all their
Which,
money back.
right.
So, like I said, next up we have a space for the Unbound. This is on PS4, 5, Xbox One, SX, Switch, and PC. We are watching trailers for this one. This one is
Okay.
an adventure game from the developer Mojiken and publisher Toji Productions.
Hmm.
In this game, it's a slice of life adventure with beautiful pixel art set in the late 90s rural Indonesia, that tells the story of about overcoming anxiety, depression, and a relationship between a boy and a girl with supernatural powers. See, until you get to the end, it's like, okay, all right, I can see the story. And it's like, yes, one of them got supernatural powers. Okay,
Right.
there's the twist. There's the hook right there.
Yeah. They gotta find a way to get you into your feelings, man. They
Right.
gotta figure out a way to get you to play the game.
Right. Isn't that like Life is Strange? And one of them end up having supernatural powers or something like that. That's like and I know that this isn't the same vein, but like Life is Strange, and I forget
Hmm.
the game that Microsoft published that was in the same vein as that. You had like a supernatural element to it, to these characters as they go and figure out this heartwarming, wrenching mystery, murder, whatever story. Everybody's, and not to say in touchy feely is it bad, but everybody's touchy feely and emotions, and but yeah,
Yeah.
I can move this with my hands as part of the story, or I can have post cognition where I can see the past as part of the story to unravel things, or I had
Mm,
this special connection with my twin. It's not quite in the same vein as that, but it seems like it has some shades of those previous games that I've mentioned. But we're definitely watching a trailer for that one.
okay. I'm ready to check it out.
All right. Next up, we have Colossal Cave, which is coming out on the PS5, Xbox Series SX, Switch, and PC. And it's really weird that they're coming out for the current gen PS and Xbox and that previous gen, but also the Switch.
Yeah.
Interesting, especially when we find out what it's based on. So it's an adventure game from developer publisher Cygnus Entertainment, created by Ken and Roberta Williams. Colossal Cave is a first-person VR. Now, mind you,
Mm,
Xbox doesn't do VR, so
right.
I'm curious to see how that works. Well, you can get VR goggles for the Switch. I actually saw that the other day, but you know, it's
Yeah.
not true VR.
We not. Nintendo don't license it. No.
Right, exactly. So this serves as a reimagining of the seminal 1970s text adventure game Colossal Cave Adventure. So it is a 3D VR first-person reimagining of the classic text adventure game.
Hmm.
This should be interesting, and we are watching the trailer for this.
Yeah. Because you said it's VR, but
That's what
to
the
your
description says.
knowledge, Xbox is not VR. They're
Yeah,
not in that
nope,
field yet.
nope.
Is it
Neither is.
possible that the Oculus maybe could be compatible?
No, 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 no.
No?
Microsoft has there are no VR headsets compatible with the Xbox systems.
Okay. Hmm.
So this
Maybe.
and
Hmm.
maybe it's not VR for those other systems, but the description stated VR. So
Yeah.
we
They
shall
will
see.
I mean,
In
I guess at least at the bare minimum, if they doing this and it has anything to do with Xbox, it'll probably be like what Game Pass, right? Because you can do that on PC.
no, it's not Game Pass.
What?
Surprisingly, this isn't. Well, I'll say this: as of
Hmm.
right now, uh, they have talked about very few games on Game Pass, and literally three of the next four are on Game Pass. So for this month,
Okay.
and I think so far they've only announced about 6 or 7 games for Game Pass, and like I said, three of the next four are a part of them. At least for
Okay.
now. That
Hmm.
may change by the
Right.
time next week time.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's Colossal Cave. We're watching the trailer for that. Next up is Persona 4 Golden, which is coming out for the PS4, Xbox One, SX, and Switch, and dropping on Game Pass. RPG from Atlas. A strange rumor slowly spreads through the town of Inaba, the protagonist's new home, just as a chain of mysterious murders begin. As the protagonist and his teammates chase after the truth, they find themselves opening the door to another world. Now, I'm interested to see what this looks like because,
Hmm.
to my understanding, there are no real upgrades because this is simply a port of the PSP game that came out in 2012. So this is a port
Okay.
of the 11-year-old game
Okay.
onto modern platforms. Because if I remember correctly, Persona 4 has been stuck on the PSP since then. I may be wrong. Let us know in the comments if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, uh,
Hmm.
so that's why I went back and looked where it went. I thought it was on the PS4 already, and no, according to this,
Hmm.
it has only been on the PS4. Excuse me, the PSP.
Which would make sense
Right.
because
And
in
the
the
PSP and the PC. So there's no PC listed here. So
okay.
it's been locked out of all those systems until now.
Which that makes sense because currently, to my knowledge, we're on Persona 5.
Yes.
So I mean I could see that. Okay.
Right. So that's Persona 4. Next up, we have Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3 Portable, which is on the PS4, Xbox One SX, Switch, and PC. So this is RPG again from Atlas. This is the remix version of Atlas' third entry in the unusually thought-provoking RPG series. In Persona 3, you play as a 17-year-old boy who's just transferred schools. Immediately after entering his dormitory, he comes under attack of a mysterious shadowy enemy. Now, this game was originally released on the PSP in 2010. So this is a 13-year-old game, but it's remixed. So maybe they'll upgrade the visual, whatnot. But, looking at some of the trailers and whatnot that I did in preparation, I'm not sure if you have to do too much, but I will be interested to see just how they look on a modern console. So what they're dropping this week, I'll probably download them just to see, or cloud play just to see what they look like on the Xbox. So mind you, and for everybody, I am not gaming on a 4K television and 4K. My gaming rig is an Xbox One at the moment. There's a bunch of other stuff hooked up to the TV, some Nintendo minis. It was a Wii at one point in time, but that's in another room, and my Genesis mini. But this is a 720p plasma TV from 2008.
Damn.
So again, I am not in here looking at the greatest, highest, crispest fidelity. But games, especially through cloud play, I can tell the difference between, say, playing. Was I playing? I forget what I was playing recently through cloud play. But anyway, let's say Halo Infinite, playing through cloud play, which is running on Xbox Series X's via the cloud, compared to playing it natively on my Xbox One. I can tell the difference even on this TV. So I'm interested to see how these games look on something as last century, well, last decade, just
decade,
2010, last 2 decades ago, because that was the 2000s. Television, to see how it really holds up, especially since these are both ported from mobile systems. But I'm interested. I didn't really get too far in Persona 5, but I enjoyed the brief time I played testing out and really getting a feel for the game. So I'm definitely interested in Persona 3 and Persona 4.
Yeah. I mean, they have a fan base, and they're
Yes.
building out an incredible story from what I hear. I haven't gotten much into Persona myself either, but I'm curious now that these ports are happening, they're not remixed, they're ports.
Right.
I'm wondering, is Persona 6 on the way? Because normally when developers start doing stuff like this, they're trying to prepare for people like myself who was like, oh, the new one's out, but I haven't played the old one, so let me go back and try to, before everything's said and done, so I can get the story. So I don't know. This is interesting that they're in 2023 they're porting these
well, I think part of it
two-decade-old games.
That Persona 5 was so successful. And one of the things that at least from watching people over, especially since Persona 5 came out, like, okay, so for instance, Persona 5, the original version came out in 2016. Royale, when did Royale come out?
Not sure. It couldn't
be
too far after.
Yeah, I don't know.
Royale
was still pretty recent though.
18? I'm guessing.
No. Royale came out in 20. So Persona 5 Royale came out in 2020. So Persona 5 by itself sold 2 million copies before they even released Royale. Royale is an enhanced version with multiple awards. So they just released the enhanced version of Persona 5. And they've been getting more and more the profile of this franchise has
That's
increased,
growing,
or
yeah.
it seriously increased Persona 5. So a lot of it is they Atlas and Sega smartly, in my opinion, capitalize on the success, but also the fan base they were building and
Mhm.
finally expanding from the PlayStation from the PlayStation. And once they had that happen, now they're talking about Persona 5 Royale sold like 3-4 million copies after they drop it on Game Pass
Right.
and Switch. So now they're like, okay. And also, Xbox opened up their money and they paid them to put them on Game Pass. I'm pretty sure that helped in the get those ports out too. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you want to back us up a dump truck of money to get our games on your system? Okay, we'll use that money and port that to other systems so we can make money from everybody.
Which is smart. That's
Right.
smart.
Because they had an incentive to go back to those PSP games, and now they're like, okay, let's re-release them.
Mm-hmm.
We have a bigger fan base than we did back then. Because before, it's still niche. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
JRPGs are niche. In this
they
gaming
are.
world, they are niche. And the Shin Megami Tensei series and their Persona, excuse me, spilling off of that, definitely niche. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
heard of them, but I never played until Persona 5 1 because I didn't have PlayStation.
Right.
But now the series is getting more and more attention in the gaming world at large. And honestly, I think you had a great install base on the PlayStation. I would love to know how many people tried that game on Xbox just because of Game Pass.
I mean,
And how many conversions? I believe they said that on average it's about like everybody on Game Pass ends up buying 2 or 3 games or something like that because of
which is
Game
good.
Pass. It may
Yeah.
be more than I think. No, actually, I think when they had it was 8. I think they said 8. I may be embellishing a little bit, but it was a higher number than you would expect.
Okay.
I'm like, that's a hell of a conversion rate. If you got somebody, let's just say 5. If you have
Yeah.
everybody on average who pays for Game Pass
Mm-hmm.
end up purchasing or has purchased 5 games in a year from playing them on Game Pass,
Right.
that's an amazing conversion and an
Yeah.
incentive for publishers to put their games on it. Outside of the money that Microsoft gives them,
Mm-hmm.
then you got a pretty decent conversion rate. I've told you many times there are several games that I am going to buy when I see that notice they leave in Game Pass. If I haven't finished them, I'm
Mm-hmm.
buying them. Trek to Yomi,
Okay.
buying instantly. The Gunk, buying instantly. There was a game I saw yesterday that I was looking that's on Game Pass that's like super duper cheap at the moment
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to buy just because I don't know when it's leaving. That's what Game Pass does that.
Yeah, that's good. Really smart as well.
So so Atlas and Sony, they were smart to put these games, to port these games and put them on to Game Pass. So
Yeah.
kudos to them, make your money.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if they spec it up right, make it look nice. It'll do some numbers.
Right. Next up, we're moving away from OPSP games and something that's totally Nintendo, and that's Fire Emblem Engage. And this is on the Switch. We are watching trailer for that. RPG
Ooh.
from developer Intelligent Systems, publisher Nintendo. Fire Emblem Engage takes place in a world 1,000 years after 4 heroes from 4 kingdoms work to seal away a fell dragon. It's
Mm.
set to return to wreak havoc on the world as massive evil beasts are wont to do. The solution? Collect a series of fire emblems found throughout the world. Now, Brian, are you a fan of the Fire Emblem series?
Yes, I am. I'm currently trekking my way through Three Houses, which is the installment that is prior to this one.
Okay.
Fire Emblem has since branched off. They have a I don't know what you will call that. It's more like a damn. What's the game with the samurai that run around and cut up everything? I can't think of the name of the game, but
Hmm.
they've branched off. So the main branch of the game is still the tactical turn-based RPG, and the other one is more of a free world, like it's not turn-based, it's not tactical. It's literally you pick a character, run around, and cut shit up. either Dynasty Warriors is the game I was thinking of just now.
Okay, that one. All right.
It kind of has that feel to it, that play style. Either way, Engage is supposed to be unique in the sense they do a really good job at trying to differentiate the games. Engage is supposed to be unique in a sense. The fire emblems in this particular game are actually relics from all of the past fire emblems in the main game. And once you find them and activate them or whatever, you're able to tap into the specific powers that those relics held back in the old other games. So I don't know, like one of the relics is a stone, and it's this girl or whatever. She's a mythical being or whatever. She turns into a dragon like when her stone is activated. Another one, like this character does some like laser beam kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting. But Fire Emblem Engage is supposed to be somewhat of a culmination of all of the Fire Emblems before it. So it's going to be pretty interesting watching people play it, because Fire Emblem has been going on for a long time. The first time I played it was like on a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because I remember the series back then with the flip open Game Boy Advance. Yes.
Yeah, it's been going on a while. So I'm excited. Like I said, I'm not one for jumping in halfway, even though Three Houses is like, it came out in 2018 and there are prior games before that one. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just get this one. I heard really, really good things about it. And Engage is supposed to be just as great. So I'm excited for it.
Sounds cool. That's probably won't be one I'll be checking out, but definitely it sounds like a cool game.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I don't know. These games, I'm really into like the turn-based strategy, and we talked about this before, that permadeath system that they have in the game, which is the first time I've ever played a game like that. It's a game changer. And they're also bringing back the weapons triangle, which is like, I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly but if you're gamers, you know what I'm talking about. Certain weapons there perform better versus other weapons, and vice versa. So like a sword would probably be better against an axe would be better against a lance, and a lance would be better against a sword. It's a whole thing, and it's a strategy that you have to keep in mind when you're playing through the various levels, because all of the enemies, they have weapons that your characters either will do good against or not do good against. So I'm glad they're bringing that back, because it's not in this in the Three Houses when they took it out in favor of boosting up the system that lets the characters interact. And there's a thing where if the characters like each other enough, they'll help each other in battle. If they don't, then they'll just stay out of the way whenever the other characters get attacked. It's very intricate, but Fire Emblem Engage, I'm excited about it. It looks really, really good. I checked out the trailer before, but we're watching it again today, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Should be a good one.
Sounds good. Yeah. I'm looking forward to. I hadn't checked out the trailer, so I'm interested to see a little bit more of it. And finally, this week we have a game that has been all the rage on the Switch and has now come over to the other systems that we have out here, and dropping on, of course, my favorite way of playing games at the moment, Xbox Game Pass, and is none other than Monster Hunter Rise, action RPG from Capcom. Can we talk about Capcom for a second?
Listen, they hanging in.
They have been knocking out the park the past couple years.
They really hanging in there. They said, you know what? We might not be able to put out any more Marvel versus Capcoms, but goddamn it, we got other games, and we here, and I appreciate it.
Ubisoft need to call Capcom with all the
figure it out,
right, and get some help, because Capcom. Now, mind you, they have great IPs that they've been mining, but they've done an excellent job reinvigorating their series. Like Resident Evil, and then even you had the original Monster Hunter game, and then they brought out Rise, and Rise was just like it did gangbusters on the Switch.
Right, which it is very, very interesting. Like, I didn't expect this, because I got into Monster Hunters on the PlayStation, like the the big one, whatever. Right. Monster Hunter's Rise is a scaled down version. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch does not have the technical capabilities that Xbox and PlayStation does. So they made a scaled down version, but it did so well that they were like, maybe our overly complicated big games, our main games are, not what we need to be putting time in. They're actually porting this to the PlayStation and Xbox. And I thought that was very, very interesting because they really just threw Nintendo a bone with making Rise. Like, okay, we have a fan base that plays Nintendo, let's do it. And now they doubling back, like, you know what? This is actually the better game. Let's put it on the main console. That's interesting. I've never seen that before.
Right, yeah, exactly. You haven't, and as Brian said, it's on the other platforms. So it's on PS4, 5, Xbox One, S, and X. And yeah, it really is amazing that it did so well, garnered so much attention and fanfare on the Switch. I know they have a main, like, large DLC. I'm not sure if it's come out yet or if something is coming down the pipe. Sunrise. No, it did, because we talked about it. Sunrise came out I believe Sunrise, but I know we talked about it as far as the release schedule. I'm not sure if that DLC is in the game that is on these current platforms. Let's get into what is it. It's in this game, in Monster Hunter Rise, the player takes on the role of a hunter tasked with slaying and capturing large monsters using a variety of weapons, tools, and environmental features to damage and weaken them while surviving their attacks. Successful completion of the offered quest provides loot, obviously, typically in the form of various monster parts from the monster, which are used to forge new armor and weapons that can be used to take on more powerful monsters, forming a series notable core loops. So basically, you kill monsters, take their remains, make yourself stronger, and fight more monsters. On and on and on, but it sounds fun.
Yeah. Have you ever played it before?
I have not, and that's why I'm looking forward to this when it drops on Game Pass.
Okay, I think you will like it. I try to tell people when I'm explaining it, it's like well, it's like an adult version of Pokemon, but not necessarily, because Pokemon is not necessarily for kids. But the way that the game is like crafted or whatever, it's exactly what what your explanation says. Pretty much, you go out there, you hunt, you literally like use tracking skills and abilities that you learn in your like little camp or whatever before you're allowed to go out into the actual world, find these monsters or whatever, you kill them, collect their remains, you go back to your village. What is it? The village locksmith, not locksmith, the forager or whatever, the person that does all the weapons. They make you some new armor and weapons. You go back out and you try to find even bigger and badder monsters to try to conquer. The interesting thing about it, though, which I haven't played Rise, so I don't know if this element is still, I don't know if this element is a part of Rise, but there's a team-based thing in there. So like if you and I wanted to play, we could go out together on an exploration to track a monster. Like say it's a real big monster, I can't beat it by myself. I can join you on your hunt and we can do this together and obviously win and take the spoils back to the village. But it's interesting because it's literally that. It's a big circle. You beat a monster, make your weapons and your armor better, and you go back out there and do it again. But there's a story to it as well. Like something's happening where these monsters are agitated, and that's the reason that they are being so aggressive towards you as a person. So really, really dope game. I was, like I said, surprised that Rise made its way back to like the main console. I wasn't expecting that, but I think I'm gonna check it out.
Rise, yeah, exactly. That is weird. But speaking of Rise, let's check out this trailer.
Yeah, let's do it. This is for my fellow hunters. I figured it out.
They're going down.
I don't know what it is, and especially considering SO2 on Xbox. But there's something about Monster Hunter that always reminds me of the original PSO. I don't know why. I think it was that. I think it's that the first boss on Transfer Online, that humongous dragon. I just always had feelings of that, and four of us trying to slay this dragon while it's breathing fire. And every time I see a trailer for Monster Hunter, especially Monster Hunter Rise, that's what comes to my head.
That makes sense. The difference though, because these monsters are not stationary, they will chase you. And if you're the one that's being aggressive and they know they can't win, they'll run. It's interesting because if they run and that's on your task list, you have to catch this monster, then you really just have to chase after it and try to do what you can and get it to trip or use a lure to get it to come back to you. It's you really hunting in this game.
Right.
But it's very, very fun.
Understood. Well, that's Monster Hunter Rise. Let's now check out Fire Emblem Engage.
Let's engage. Ugh.
Number one.
We live on the continent of Elios. 4 realms surrounding a holy land at its center. 1,000 years ago, our lands endured a vicious war with the Fell Dragon. We called upon heroes from other worlds to aid us, heroes known as emblems. With them, the warriors of our nations fought as one. In the end, we were victorious in defeating and imprisoning the Fell Dragon. In the years since, our world has been safe. But now, I sense a resurrection. The binding weakens.
Who is this guy?
You always gotta have one guy that want to be like, you know what? I want the evil to come back. There's always that one guy.
One. Yeah. And they always have to cleanse the world of this, all this stuff that people are doing. Like, no, you just trying to destroy stuff.
Yeah?
1,000 years? That's how long I've been asleep.
What are those horrible things?
If I may, you are a divine dragon, a member of a royal family, revered as deities.
The art style reminds me of Genshin Impact for some reason.
Fell Dragon.
Yeah.
I feel like I must remember, but
I've had my eye on
So
you.
the ring.
I noticed though they
as far as the
made
battle
a few
system,
What happened?
I say it seems like it's a bit more tactical as far as the battle system is concerned.
Yeah, like you really have to be paying attention and keep an eye on all of your characters at all times, just to make sure like you're not putting them in situations where they can get killed. Because again, permadeath system, once they gone, they gone. And if the main character is killed in battle, then you lose the game. So,
One strike will decide it all.
this is dope though. The art style is definitely improved from Three Houses. Like Three Houses doesn't look bad at all. It looks similar to this. I can tell this is a lot more refined. This whole
She asked
stats at the bottom or whatever, they look completely different than how they present on Three Houses. So they definitely upgraded this game. I'm more interested.
So it looks very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if anything, the story is great because then you find out about each character and their connection to the higher order that's going on here. And it makes you not want to lose anybody because it's like, if I can see all of these characters to the end, and it's going to be like a great ending. But if somebody dies along the way, then but I'm engaged, man. I'm excited for that.
Right. Yeah, it looks very cool. Next up, we have again that reimagining in VR, it says, of a 70s classic text adventure, and it is none other than Colossal Cave.
You're standing at the end of a road before a small brick building, in search of adventure. So take your first steps into Colossal Cave, the famed classic adventure reimagined by Roberto Williams, the legendary designer of King's Quest and Phantasmagoria. Explore the vast darkness of the mythical Colossal Cave and find the valuable treasures held within. Beware the many obstacles that stand in your way and perilous encounters that threaten to end your quest quickly, but without mercy. With many locations to traverse, secrets to find, and miles of caverns to explore, you'll never know just what your outlaws inside Colossal Cave will bring.
Okay.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
It's it looks basic.
It does. Based on the trailer.
Based on the trailer, it looks basic. And there's nothing wrong with that because it really is about gameplay.
Right.
And I'm thinking, especially if it does have a VR component, you want something that's immersive, but also you don't want to overtax the system either. So I can see that. It looks interesting. Not something I will be looking into though, but it looks interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. I'm still perplexed how they're gonna do this on Xbox. It's VR, but
I just think the VR component is not in it.
It's optional, you think?
Yeah. I think like a Resident Evil Village or something like that, where if you get it for PSVR, then there's like a patch you download and
Okay. That makes
that's
sense.
what I would assume.
Okay, cool.
And last up on our trailers is the trailer for A Space for the Unbound.
Okay.
Young love. Going to the movies, skipping school, using supernatural mind-reading powers.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yep. This slice of life pixel art game has it all. Set in 90s rural Indonesia, it follows high school sweethearts Atma and Raya through their journey of self-discovery.
However, when a mysterious power suddenly threatens their existence, they must scour their vibrant little town in search of answers, talking and diving into the minds of the townsfolk to uncover deep secrets.
Can Atma and Raya face the end of the world? Find out when A Space for the Unbound launches on Nintendo Switch January 19th, 2023.
Okay. That presentation was great.
It was. I'm not mad at it.
That was funny. It makes me interested about this game now.
Yeah. And I don't know, because slice of life, that terminology is usually reserved for anime. And they have a lot of slice of life animes that are really, really good. So I'm wondering if this game is gonna be as good as I'm expecting it based on what we saw in the trailer. But it looks interesting.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
If not, they should definitely keep on payroll whomever they had do the voiceovers.
Yeah, the trailer was good. Now
they do a good job.
Good.
But that's it for this week, Brian. What's going on? What's going on with you this week?
I am in the process of editing a new episode of the Talk+Play blerdcast. It's coming out, I don't want to lie, but let's say in the next day or two. Sure.
Okay.
That's happening. I think the main thing that I was yapping about the most on the podcast, Kotaku put out a article earlier this week about the 31 most anticipated games of 2023 or whatever. So I just kind of went through them and saw or seen if I recognized any, or if I would be put on to any new games that I'm interested in playing. So that's most of the conversation there. But music, TV, and the Golden Globes, had to shout out everybody black that won. So That's
Okay.
happening as well.
So, all right, cool,
That's
cool. Let's see. For me, episode 139 dropped earlier at the time of this recording on Monday. So I am talking in the news trailer for Wasp and Quantumania. I went back into the long box, so I reviewed G.I. Joe Silent Interlude, which is came out in 2014, but it was the 30th anniversary of the classic Silent Invasion story from G.I. Joe number 21. That was that silent issue that introduced Storm Shadow to the G.I. Joe world. And I remember reading that as a kid, and I stumbled upon this updated, well, recolored and everything, a lot more backstory, 30th anniversary edition during Christmas break. So I talked about that as well. This week I'm recording 140, a bunch of things, talking Night Court and other stuff. And before we end, and I know this is not the there isn't a wrestling podcast on Nerds Rule the World, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that all us wrestling fans lost really one of the modern greats in Jay Briscoe. The other day, Jay Briscoe, one half of the Briscoe brothers from ROH,
That's
arguably
okay.
one of the best modern tag teams, not one of the best tag teams ever. Really, they carried ROH on their back for so many years, and so many of the bigger names went in and out, and they're local too. They were from Delaware, and they love the Orioles. Like they're Delaware, but it's like they're from the Mid-Atlantic region. So I always felt a kinship with them. And for Jay to pass away with a young daughter and wife, and like you know, condolences to the family, to his brother, and just the extended family. It's, you know, when I want to say your heroes die, because I would never say the Briscoes were my heroes, but as a wrestling fan, or when you're a fan of anything, there are some people, there's some acts that always stand out. The Briscoes always stood out. And even just this year, from ROH going under and coming back, I watched them in Impact. I watched them in not TNA. I watched them in Impact. I watched them in NWA. And then with ROH back again, it was like a renaissance. And then to have him pass away in such a tragic way he did, and he was only 38. I was like, goodness. So I'll be talking a little bit more about that on the upcoming podcast we'll be dropping next week. But just, I had to say something about that, because I was like, that is just so, it's devastating. To have something like that happen.
To his family and everything like that.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. So that's that. Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe.
Definitely.
And with that, and sorry to end us on a somber note, but I feel like I had to say something about it, because, you know,
no, you're right.
We don't have a dedicated wrestling show on the NRW. So I'm like, I had to say something, you know. We get to scissor me in every now and again. But other than that, you know, I had to say something, even though there's no RH video game. So, you know, maybe one day. But of course, you know, Brian, where can everybody find you?
You plug the ad in on your favorite social medias, and then, you know, I'll pop up. YouTube,
don't forget
Instagram.
YouTube. Huh? Don't forget YouTube. You're on YouTube too.
Yeah. That's what I say. Yeah. YouTube, Instagram,
I'm subscribed.
Twitter, TikTok, and that's it.
All right. Well, of course, you can find me WebsterStyle anywhere, TikTok, _ TikTok, _ WebsterStyle on TikTok, Twitter WebsterStyle, Instagram WebsterStyle, Saturn Geek, and also WebsterStyle.com. But of course, you are rocking with the Nerds Rule the World. Make sure you find us on Twitter at the NRW, on Instagram at New This Wednesday. Of course, you're currently on your YouTube. Getting tongue-tied here for all TikToks. But you're currently on YouTube. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell
right now.